Have you ever felt, well, stuck? You know, like your life has just hit a wall and you're waiting and waiting for some kind of breakthrough that just doesn't seem to be coming? Well, today we're going to dive into an incredible ancient story that gives us a totally different way to look at those moments. We're talking about the life of Joseph and how those unseen, frustrating periods of waiting might actually be the most important preparation we'll ever go through.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to talk about that feeling of being in a holding pattern. Then, we'll walk through Joseph's wild 13-year journey, see how all that prep turned into real wisdom, and then we get to the heart of it all, the meaning of his storehouses. And finally, we'll figure out how we can use that same idea to build our own. Sound good? Let's get into it.
All right, so let's start with a feeling I think we've all had. That moment when our big plans, the things we were so sure about, just stop. Everything grinds to a halt, and we're just left there wondering what on earth is going on.
And that's when these questions start bubbling up, right? When is my breakthrough going to come? Hello? Is God ever going to answer my prayer? It really feels like you're in this weird waiting room, and it can be so discouraging.
But here is the big idea we are exploring today. Those periods of waiting, they are not wasted time. They're not empty. This source material suggests that this unseen time is actually a period of intense, focused, and purposeful preparation. It's kind of like a seed that's underground all winter. You can't see anything happening, but believe me, something absolutely crucial is going on beneath the surface.
And there is no better example of this than the man himself, Joseph. I mean, his story is packed with drama, betrayal, slavery, prison. But if you look a little closer, what you're really seeing is a 13-year training program for one of the most powerful jobs in the ancient world.
Just look at this timeline. At 17, he's the golden child. Next thing you know, his own brothers sell him into slavery. But in Potiphar's house, he learns how to manage a massive estate. Then he's thrown in prison on a false charge. And what does he do there? He learns how to manage people and resources in a broken system. It's not until he's 30 that his big break comes. 13 years. Just let that sink in. That is a long time to be waiting in the dark.
So, the key here is that this wasn't just random, meaningless suffering. A much later writer, looking back on Joseph's life, says that this whole period was a test. The very promise God had given him was being used to forge his character.
And this is so cool. Let's look at the original Hebrew word for tested. It's tsaraf. Now, this isn't like a multiple-choice test at school. This is the word for smelting gold or silver. It's the process of using intense fire to burn away all the impurities, all the junk, until only the pure, valuable metal is left behind. Joseph wasn't just being tested, he was being refined.
And by the way, this wasn't just a one-time thing with Joseph. We see this pattern of long, difficult preparation all over the place. Abraham waits 25 years for his son. Isaac waits 20 years. Jacob goes through over 20 years of character training. It seems like these long waiting periods are actually a feature, not a bug, in the system.
So, after 13 years of being refined in total obscurity, Joseph's moment finally arrives. This is where all that hidden preparation crashes headfirst into a national crisis.
So, picture this. Pharaoh, the most powerful man on the planet, has this nightmare about cows, and it's so disturbing that no one in his kingdom can figure it out. It's a divine SOS, a warning about the future. And out of nowhere, someone remembers the forgotten prisoner Joseph, who is then rushed from his cell straight to the palace.
But here's the kicker. Joseph does more than just interpret the dream. He doesn't just say, yep, you're going to have 7 awesome years and then 7 really bad ones. No, he lays out a detailed, strategic plan of action. This is the exact moment when divine revelation gets turned into practical, life-saving wisdom.
And that plan, well, it brings us right to the absolute heart of this whole story. The very thing his entire life of preparation was leading up to, the storehouse. The solution he proposed was it was breathtakingly simple but utterly brilliant. He told Pharaoh, look, during the 7 good years, just take 20% of the harvest and save it. Build storehouses. This wasn't some vague hope. It was a concrete national strategy to survive what was coming. And once again, the original language gives us this amazing insight. The Hebrew word for storehouse, otsar, doesn't just mean a grain silo. It also means a treasury or a treasure store. So it connects the physical act of storing grain with the idea of setting aside a precious, life-saving treasure. So the storehouse becomes this incredibly powerful symbol. Yeah, on one level, it's a practical plan that saves a country.
But it's also a picture of God's provision. It's the result of smart stewardship, not ownership. And ultimately, it was the channel God used to save not just Egypt, but Joseph's own family and countless other people.
And this is where the story jumps off the page and right into our lives. I mean, if Joseph built physical storehouses for a physical famine, how can we use that same logic to build our own spiritual storehouses for the challenges we face?
Well, we can think about it in 3 big ways. First, we fill up our storehouse with spiritual food. Prayer, study, when times are peaceful, so we have something to draw on when a crisis hits. Second, we invest in our relationships and community when things are good, building that support system for when times get tough. And third, we develop our skills and our wisdom, just like Joseph did, so we're actually ready to be useful when the opportunity shows up.
And the whole mindset behind this is stewardship. See, Joseph knew he didn't own all that grain. He was managing it for a much bigger purpose. And in the same way, this invites us to see our time, our talents, our resources, not as things we own, but as things we've been asked to manage wisely.
And the beautiful result of this whole crazy journey is right there in the names Joseph gave to his 2 sons. He named his first Manasseh, which means God has made me forget all my trouble, and his second Ephraim, which means God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering. The pain wasn't just erased, it was transformed into a blessing.
In the end, it all comes down to this one powerful statement Joseph makes to his brothers, the very ones who sold him into slavery. He says, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good." It's the perfect summary of his life, that even the worst of human intentions can be woven into a much larger, incredible plan of redemption. And that really leaves us with a big question, doesn't it? What unseen preparation might be happening in our lives right now for a purpose we can't even begin to see?